All right, guys, really quick Q&A here. Again, got the computer pulled up. I only have like 10 minutes to get through these because I'm coaching football. What does it say? Football school. Yeah, Grand Forks. I live in Grand Forks, so this is my first year coaching high school football, so I have to get to practice in like 30 minutes, so I got to leave here in like 10 minutes. So this will be quick. Got some questions pulled up. Just going to go through them, find some good ones, and I will answer them. How much gap do you leave after your breakfast before you start your morning training? I really feel pukish after lifting heavy in the mornings. All right, I'm going to make a video on this of me making my breakfast before I train on a certain day when I'm going to train early in the morning, like 4:30 or 5, which I think might be tomorrow. So I'll try to remember to do that tomorrow. But again, I split my breakfast up so I get about half of my carbs before training and a quarter of my protein before training, and then I fill in the rest of those macros after my training. But I'll make a video of that. Usually it's just like an English muffin with some honey, maybe some fruit, and then maybe a shake, or I'll get some like cottage cheese for some protein. So that's kind of the gist of it. I'll make a video on it. If there are days of the week where you have to do a double session, which would you do first? The sport-specific session or the gym/strength session? That's a good question. I guess this depends on like, how much freedom do I have to make this decision? Like, if I have to do a double session, do I have other things going on in the day? So if it was totally up to me, I didn't have anything going on, like if I was a professional athlete, I would do the sport specific stuff first, most likely, take a long break in the day, and then do the gym stuff after. But if I had to do them back to back, I guess it depends on what the sport is. So if I'm playing basketball and if I'm lifting and then I'm playing basketball after, I think I would probably lift first because I can like control a lot of the lifting variables, the volume, the intensity, the rest intervals. I can control all of those things to make sure that it doesn't hinder my performance on the basketball court. But if I'm going to practice basketball first, that's going to hinder my ability to lift because I'm not in control as much of the basketball variables as I am with the gym variables to make them both be a productive session. So hopefully that, I got to think about that longer. Sorry, I'm in a rush. I understand what acceleration sprints would be. What would a max velocity sprint be? 10 to 20 yard flies, question mark. What would sled sprints be categorized as? Sled sprints would most definitely be categorized as accelerations. I guess, yeah, there can be accelerations because it's resisted sprinting. A max velocity sprint. So the way I would think about a max velocity sprint for anyone who's not an elite sprinter, okay, football player, team sport athletes, recreational lifter that likes to sprint, in my opinion, this is my personal opinion, a 20-yard lead into a 10-yard fly, so you get 20 yards to accelerate, for most people, that's going to suffice for max velocity sprinting. At 20 yards, most people are probably hitting their peak velocity at that point. That's not if you're an elite sprinter, if you're not a high-level sprinter, if you don't compete or you don't participate in track and field. If you get a 20-yard build into a 10-yard fly, I think that suffices for max velocity work. So I guess anything beyond 20 yards, I guess. All right, as a washed-up meathead that hasn't done much cardio, let alone sprinting, since graduating high school a decade ago, how would you recommend I start incorporating sprints and cardio into my training? And in another video, you recommend to start sprinting with 1 time per week, but what about other cardio like steady state work? Also, what is the end goal to aim for in terms of frequency of sprinting and cardio? The end goal, that's going to be totally dependent on yourself as the individual and what you're looking for. But the same thing, dude, start with 1 day a week. If you're starting from scratch, I would start with the cardio before starting with sprints, assuming you're already lifting, whether it's Olympic lifting, heavy strength training, you're kind of getting that high intensity stimulus there, and you're not getting the cardio, you're not getting the cardiorespiratory, the energy system development anywhere else. Start with that. So start with cardio, just like anything, guys. 1 time per week at a moderately to low volume and intensity, and you just gradually build your way up. I think, and I guess an end goal to aim for is getting it to 2 to 3 times per week for both sprinting and cardio. Obviously, you know, all of these variables, they're like a dial. You turn one up, you got to turn one down. So, sorry, this is like I have to get to know you, and I have to know a lot more context behind this question to really give it a good answer. So I apologize for that. What is your favorite caffeine source, pre-workout and just in general? My favorite caffeine source is just an energy drink. I try to use the low calorie, zero sugar ones. I've been drinking a lot of CBum energies recently. It's only like 105 milligrams per can, but I really like the thermogenic rains, the Red Dragon rain, if you guys are familiar with that. But I know Bang's a solid choice. Ghost is a solid choice. I don't use like caffeine capsules. It's straight energy drinks. I don't drink coffee. So you mentioned you don't eat vegetables. Is there a reason for this, or you just don't enjoy them? I just don't enjoy them. So the only vegetables I eat would be spinach, and that's if I put it into a shake. If I would count a potato as a vegetable. So I eat baked potatoes. I'll boil potatoes. I'll eat potatoes in a lot of different ways. Chop them up and make them like French fries. Chop them up and make hash browns out of them. But yeah, spinach, baked potatoes. Yeah, that's the only vegetable I'll eat. To build your current mass/size in your arms, do you require arm isolation, or could you grow from the hostile full body 4-day per week program you suggested in the Alan Thrall video? Okay, so most of my training in my entire life has been athletic performance. That's like the lens in which I have viewed training from, the way I've approached training from. I know Atlas Power Shrug doesn't like using the term genetics, but I don't know what other word to use for it. We all have different genetics. We all have individual different responses to training programs. For me, that's how I've trained my entire life. I do very seldomly do dedicated arm sessions, with the exception that I did do them during Haas 2.0 this past spring. But for me, I've grown like this just through like full body or upper lower splits with very minimal dedicated arm work. But most people probably want to throw in some dedicated arm work if they feel like they're lagging behind. I don't find it a priority for me or for my clients, because again, most of my clients are just looking for general strength and conditioning, or they're high school kids and they're competing in a sport. It's just hard to like fit that in if I'm only seeing them 2, 3, or 4 times a week, and we're also sprinting, jumping, doing plyos. They're also doing sports. So it all comes down to how you're prioritizing things. So I would say, to answer the question, I don't require arm isolation. I think you get plenty of quality arm work, like biceps work, from chin-ups, pendlay rows, inverted rows, dumbbell rows. I think you get plenty of quality tricep work from all sorts of pressing, overhead pressing, bench pressing, close grip pressing. I do like to do lying triceps extensions, and I do like French presses. If I want to isolate the triceps, which I do a little bit of in Haas 2.0. The way I like to do triceps extensions is different than like your typical skull crusher. I've made a video on this in the past, but I like doing lying triceps extensions where you get the shoulder involved. So you flex the shoulder, potentially tap the weights on the ground, then you flex the shoulder, and then you extend the elbow. So flex elbow, flex shoulder, extend the shoulder, flex, extend elbow. So, all right, I got time for one more. What are your thoughts on working out early being worse for your back? I remember reading a lot of articles on how working out too early has a higher risk of back injury due to spinal disc hydration stuff. This has kept me from trying it, as I already have a questionable back, which messes with my training already when issues flare up. I've heard that too, but I would just pose the question: what are you gonna do? Just like skip training? If training in the morning is the only time you can train, what are you gonna do? Just like skip it? So I really wouldn't worry about that. And if you are loading up the bar on a back squat or deadlift or whatever, and you feel a little bit of aggravation in your back, adjust the load. Make whatever adjustment you need to make so that you don't actually aggravate it. So I don't know how much merit there is to that. I have heard it before. I've never looked into like actual research on it or anything, or I really haven't heard that from like an authoritative source that I trust either. So I guess here, I'll do one more. How are you measuring meters per second for bar speed? I use the OVR velocity-based training device. Do I hook grip? I hook grip when I do like heavy singles and heavy doubles on the Olympic lifts. Maybe if I'm doing a complex, usually if I'm doing like a hang clean or a hang snatch or some sort of complex with the Olympic lifts, and I'm doing like sets of 4 to 5, I try to not hook grip it. I try to use that as my means of training grip strength. A lot of people ask me about grip strength. I think that's one of the best ways to train for grip strength. But maybe if I'm doing a complex, I'll try to hook grip on the last rep or two if I absolutely need to. All right, guys, I got to get to football practice. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video.